So we just wrapped up one of the probably most needed modifications or upgrades we've needed to do on our trailer, and that was replacing the foam in all the cushions. We've been on the road getting close to 3 years now. It was the factory foam. Francis and I both sit in our respective seats, like, Monday through Friday, plus, like, we sit in these seats all the time. So the foam was really bad. We actually thought about doing this modification at this time last year, and for whatever reason just didn't get around to doing it. So we needed to do it then. Fast forward a year, we really needed to do it this time, and yeah, very thankful that we did. I think it only took about 2 hours of our time, and it was really pretty straightforward and simple. So we'll walk you through the steps. We'll tell you where we bought the foam from, what extra things we needed, the simple tools we used, and show you how we did it. So let's get started. Okay, so let's get into this and see what we're going to need. So first up is our materials, and starting off that list is foam. And we ordered our foam from the foam factory online and opted for their Luxe high quality foam, which is a much higher density foam than what comes in the trailer and should help, stand up over time with us using it. Still went with a 4-inch thickness to match the size of the foam that's already in there because the cushions are sewn. You can't change that. Um, and based on our needs, we needed a full sheet that ran us $147, as well as a third of a sheet that was $50. So altogether, that put us back $197 for our foam, and shipping was free, and it took 10 days from the time we ordered until the time it got to us in Florida, and that was coming out of Michigan via FedEx Ground. So you'll also need a few other things, and we just went to Joann's to pick these up. First of which is the batting, and we went with a heavyweight batting that was available on a roll and could just be cut in bulk and store. And that roll was 48 inches wide. And we only added a layer of batting on the top of each cushion, just kind of keeping with what was already there from Airstream. Um, but because that batting was wider than our cushions were long, we just used the combined widths of our cushions to determine how much batting we needed. And we ended up needing 4 yards that cost us $17. And then the only other thing we needed to pick up from the store was some spray adhesive. And we grabbed a 4-ounce can of the Gorilla brand, which was $8. Um, we did use the whole can, so maybe getting 2 cans or getting one larger can if that was available. There were a couple other brands in the store that were larger. Um, it may not be a bad idea because we ran out on the last cushion, so we were lucky. But altogether, we've got all the supplies we needed for under $225. The only other thing was you're going to need a couple of tools. So there isn't really anything fancy here, and you've probably already got it. First one being a serrated knife, unless you've got a cool hot knife that you could just use to cut right through the foam, um, because that's what you're going to be using this for, is cutting the foam. And, we used a bread knife, but I've seen people use electric knives like you'd use to carve a turkey with. But any knife that's got a blade longer than your foam should work because you want to be able to cut all the way through in one cut. You don't have to go back and mess with it. Other tool, a pair of scissors, and you'll just use this for cutting the batting, and maybe some other plastic that was around the foam. A Sharpie or some sort of marker so that you can trace the outline of the old foam onto the new foam so you know where to cut. Um, and you know Not necessary, but a box cutter was nice to have just to open the cardboard boxes that the foam came in, and then we also split those boxes open, so that we could use those boxes for working on, just as a little bit of a cleaner space. And then the final thing you're going to need is space and a plan. So you'll want to have a plan for how you're going to cut the foam. We measured out some pieces of paper and cut them, in scale so that we knew how big our foam sheets were going to be and how big our cushions were, so we could just visually lay them out, make sure we had enough space, we weren't going to run short on foam. And then it also let us make sure that we were maximizing any of those straight edges on the foam we purchased, so that if there was a long straight edge on one of our cushions, we didn't have to cut that. It was already done for us. And it just helped us to minimize the amount of foam we had to purchase. And then you're going to want some space to spread out. So unless you do each individual cushion from start to finish individually, you're going to be cutting and gluing one piece while another one's off on the side with the glue drying, and then maybe, stuffing some foam in while taking foam out. So having the space to work so you're not on top of yourself just makes things a lot easier. And that's it. That's what you need. So now we will get into actually doing this stuff. So the first step, we're going to just unzip the cushion and pull out the foam. This is also a good time to realize which cushions might be a little more difficult to restuff. Some definitely came out easier than others. We also did notice that Airstream had used some plastic to help stuff these, and we actually did reuse that in I think one or two cases for our cushions, just where we had a corner to try to get into. So next up, we're going to mark the foam, and for this we're just trying to maximize the use of the straight edges that came with the foam we bought. And we're just going to line the foam up, and then with a Sharpie we're just going to mark it out so we know where we need to make our cuts. Once we've got it marked, we're going to go ahead and cut. Like I said, we used a bread knife. Just go slow, and it should cut fine. And then we're going to cut our batting, and that's pretty straightforward. And the last step is to go ahead and spray on the adhesive. You want to hit both the batting and the foam, and make sure you get the edges good so it sticks. Once that's dry, it's time to restuff the cushions. Unfortunately, I don't have video of that because it did take the two of us, and I didn't think to set up a camera. We found the best way for us was to actually turn the cushions inside out, reach in on a corner, grab the foam, and then kind of wrap the cushion cover back around it. We did have one that was a little difficult just because the zipper opening was really small, and for that one we left the cover right side out, but then kind of tacoed the foam and just shoved it in. Alright, so that's it. Not that big of a deal, and it makes a world of difference. The dogs are liking it too already. So, if you like this type of content, go ahead and give us a like and a subscribe. It really helps us out, and we'll see you down the road.